Imagine this. You are a student athlete out of school who makes millions of dollars of revenue off of athletics. With you participating in athletics, it brings great debt, a lack of social life, and your grades are dropping tremendously. What do you get in return for this? Nothing. The sacrifice which student athletes endure to provide for their school and the NCAA is tremendous. And so I believe that because of this, they should be directly compensated for what they bring to their community and through sports. I've done an extensive amount of research on this topic. It's one that can be very life-changing in a student athlete's life, especially those who have to pay for their schooling and have to pay for all their debt due to lack of scholarships or lack of financial assistance. Due to this, it makes me feel a sort of resentment towards these athletes, which is one of the reasons why I chose this topic. First, I would like to talk to you about how, without athletes, there is no athletics or revenues made for these colleges or the NCAA. So they owe recognition to these athletes. Secondly, the amount of time it takes to play a sport does not leave any time for you to work a job or focus on your schooling. Lastly, I want to preview some ideas that are against paying college athletes and some ideas that I posed to resolve them. This leads me to my first main point, the importance of athletes for the NCAA. Without the student athletes, there is no NCAA. Now, what is the NCAA? The National Collegiate Athletic Association coordinates all of the college level sports. For example, who plays who, where, national championships, etc. Now keep in mind, all of these coordinated sports are making money. And the athletes are essentially making the NCAA profit for no pay. This is not fair. In the article, Should College Athletes Be Paid?, journalist Ashley Robinson states, the NCAA and other organizations like media companies, colleges, and universities are exploiting a bunch of talented young people for their own financial gain. She realizes that these organizations are making money off these athletes and not giving any recognition towards them. Now, keep in mind that these colleges could give compensation through scholarships, but this is not even the case. In the article, college football stars could be earning as much as $2.4 million a year based on NCAA revenues. Tom Helson Jr., an entrepreneur at CNBC, finds that, quote, less than 7% of the revenue from college football and college basketball ends up going to those sports athletes in the form of academic scholarships and stipends to cover living expenses. So the money could be returned or compensated to these athletes through scholarships, but this is not even the case. With the revenue of the NCAA, we should expect the athletes to be compensated directly from the school. Not to mention, because athletics are taking up so much time from student athletes, we must ask the question, how is their life out of sports affected? This leads me to my second main point, the time in which it takes to be a college athlete. Now, because of the many hours you are putting towards being an athlete, there is no time for you to make an income or work a job. But not all student athletes are on a full-ride scholarship, so how are they to pay for these debts and dues if they were not to make an income? In the article, Paid for Play, Should College Athletes Be Compensated?, writer Brendan Thomas states, the scholarship covers most of the expenses, but some are estimated that the actual cost of living are $1,500 more than covered. He's saying that it would be $1,500 more that one has to pay if they had a full-ride scholarship. Now imagine if one doesn't have to have a full-ride scholarship and has to pay for their schooling. How are they to pay if they're not making an income due to these sports? Their education also may suffer due to the many hours put in athletics. According to an article written by Jasmine Harris, a sociology professor at Uranus College, Harris states, on average, the players spend more than 25 hours on sports-related activities other than games such as practice, workouts, general team meetings, film sessions, and travel. The player spends less than 8 hours on academics outside of class, such as writing papers, studying, getting tutored, or working on group projects. Now, where is the student before athlete there? Many colleges undermine that saying, and there is no time for work or for them to effectively focus on their studies. All of this for them not to be paid, but to make money for the NCAA. Although there is much support in favor of college athletes getting paid, we shall now take a look at the opposing side. Now, some may argue that paying college athletes will bring more corruptness in the system. They may argue that once you start paying college athletes, the higher budget teams will sign the better athletes, which makes it unfair. Now, this is when I believe we should make a system that will state that depending on your division, you have a maximum budget which you can spend on signing players. For example, if I were in Division 1, all the Division 1 teams would have $3 million to sign whatever players they would like. This makes an even playing field for the whole entire division, and it is up to the team who they would like to sign. Secondly, they may argue that they are being paid through scholarships. Now, as we found before, not all the expenses to go to that school are covered by these scholarships. And for the people that don't have scholarships, how are they to pay for their schooling if they can't get a job and they are not making an income? Although we must see the situation in a different perspective, it still stands clear that the college athletes should be directly compensated from the NCAA. The debate of college athletes being paid may be the difference from one drowning in debt or succeeding in their future. The NCAA's revenue is based off these college athletes working for them for no pay. And the time it takes for one to be a college athlete means that you cannot make an income or focus on your schooling. Now, what does this mean for their future? Now that we know what college athletes are enduring, we must take action. We can do this by petitioning the NCAA at change.org or reaching out to the NCAA directly through social media, such as tweeting at them, in a polite manner, of course. Now, if enough of us do this, we may be able to change the athletes' lives for the better. I want to close with this thought. What if you were one of those athletes, sacrificing so much for the NCAA just to leave you with no compensation? What would you like? Thank you.